Story 11. Jesus walks on water. Jesus did miracles. Miracles are things that can only be done by the power of God. Jesus performed miracles like healing people and raising people from the dead. These miracles prove Jesus is who he says he is, the Son of God. One of Jesus' disciples was Peter, also called Simon Peter. Peter could sometimes act too quickly without thinking first. Peter could be kind of reckless, but Jesus knew Peter's abilities and had a purpose for Peter. Peter was a passionate man who loved God. Peter loved Jesus and knew that Jesus was important. Jesus had begun his ministry teaching people about God, and he performed miracles. Jesus had performed an amazing miracle. He fed over 5,000 people with just 2 small fish and 5 small loaves of bread. Immediately after this miracle, Jesus had his disciples get into a boat. They traveled toward the other side of the Sea of Galilee while Jesus released the crowds to leave. Then Jesus went up a mountain to pray. When evening came, Jesus was alone. The boat by this time was a long way offshore and was being beaten by waves and wind. In the very early morning, Jesus came to his disciples walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, and they cried out in fear.
"It's a ghost!"
But immediately, Jesus spoke to them.
"Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid."
Peter answered him,
"Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water."
Jesus said,
"Come."
So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But then Peter looked at the wind and the waves, and he became afraid and began to sink. He cried out,
"Lord, save me!"
Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him,
"O you of little faith, why did you doubt?"
And when they got into the boat, the wind stopped, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying,
"Truly, you are the Son of God."
Peter showed his faith in Jesus when he stepped out of the boat and onto the waves. Peter trusted that Jesus would keep him from going under the sea. Jesus empowered Peter to do the impossible. Peter was fine until he took his eyes off of Jesus and looked at the rough, raging waves. Peter allowed himself to become distracted by the strong wind and waves. He became afraid and began to sink. Circumstances can be scary. Fear pushes out faith, but when we hold on to faith in Jesus, fear is pushed out. We need to remember, no matter what we face, to keep our eyes on Jesus and remember his power is bigger than what we are facing. Jesus is a fantastic friend who loves us and wants to help us.